Aaron, we'll make a start.
Yep,
Good
no
morning,
problems.
good morning, and welcome everyone to the presentation on the SMSF documentation space with Smarter SMSF and BGL Corporate Solutions. I'm delighted to present to you Aaron Dunn, who we have known for a long, long time. Our history started back late in the 90s with one of our first adopters of Simple Fund Desktop. I think it was at a little firm in Heidelberg, if I'm not wrong.
Yes, you're absolutely right.
I
Yes,
still
just off
remember
Burgundy
that.
Street. Yep.
Yes, and we have aged very well, so it's good to see you looking so good.
Well, one of us has. We won't say which one.
That's me. And I love the picture in the background. So for those who don't know, Aaron and I have a little bit of banter, but while we like to have a bit of banter, a bit of fun, there's also a really serious side to us. And there is a side that provides a great level of service and interaction to our clients and the community that we work with. And I'm thrilled today to introduce you to Aaron. Many of you will know him. I personally, as I said, have known him for a long time, and I can't fault Aaron's credibility, integrity, and the way that he goes about his work. He knows SMSFs really well. I know that for me personally, he does my documentation and stuff like that, and the service I've always received has been fantastic. And what Aaron's going to go through today is a little bit about who Smarter SMSF is, the great number of services they provide, and how they package these services up, and how you can take confidence in that what they provide to you as a document provider is something that you can absolutely trust in. He'll also then speak a little bit about their specialisation and why they focus on the space. And then we're going to add to that a little bit around the whole training modules that Smarter SMSF have, because Smarter SMSF is more than just a documentation organisation. They also provide a fantastic SMSF training service that I know that we at BGL use for our new support consultants that come into the business, and it's dramatically decreased the training time to get the people up and running onto the phones and being able to support our accounting clients and users. And then once Aaron's gone through a little bit of that, he's going to show where the idea of the documentation originated from in his platform and how that all works. And then we'll also show you how it works within Simple Fund 360. And that is a truly unique and wonderful experience and integration that you're going to benefit from significantly. And then we're going to wrap it up with some of the packages and offers available to BGL clients and how you can exactly benefit from those. So before I let Aaron loose, sorry, I nearly got my letters mixed up then, mate. What I'm going to do is you can ask questions during the presentation, so please do so. I will have my camera off, but as you ask questions, as you put them through, I'll moderate the questions, and then when at the right time comes, I'll interrupt Aaron, and then we will go through those questions. But please feel free to ask questions. Aaron, I'm going to hand it over to you. Thank you so much for your support for such a long time, and I once again am always thrilled to hear what you have to say, because it truly is unique and wonderful on many fronts.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you, mate. Yeah, I thought you'd appreciate that photo. I think that was taken at the 2018 or 19 RegTech that was in Adelaide.
Would have been 18.
Yep, 18. So up on the stage, and I know it is one of our favourite photos that we like to share of each other. When I was at home today, given that still enjoying lockdown, I thought I'm going to have to get a good background. And when I saw that, I thought, oh, there is the perfect opportunity to put us together. And yeah, I knew it put a smile on your face as soon as you saw that background.
Mate, I know that you were trying to hide your hairstyle, whereas I was trying to show mine. And I think now I'll be going down your path. But anyway.
All right. Well, let's get stuck into it. Thank you. And welcome, everyone. And thanks for being a part of today's session. It is very much an interactive session. I do have a few slides to obviously talk through you with to help understand a bit more about us and obviously what we do. But I do also want to take the time and opportunity to show you through both our platform. That's really where the document piece has started, and in particular, our integration with BGL. But then I want to advance you from what was being delivered on our platform to now an embedded integration, in essence, inside Simple Fund 360. So as Daniel said, if you do have questions along the way, the more that you can put in there, the more that we'll try and answer for you and help to understand a little bit further. So first and foremost, who is Smarter SMSF? So we work exclusively in the self-managed super fund industry, as the name would denote, and we do provide documentation, education, and technical support. So we are not just coming out of a legal firm that does documents. We are not an administration business or an accountant per se. We have evolved in this space. We initially started, of course, as the SMSF Academy that many of you would know, in what was predominantly just an education and technical business. But as time went on, we clearly saw the need to deliver a more holistic approach to the delivery of not only the education, but then the tools to effectively implement within this space. And that's where we were born with the introduction, I guess, of the document platform. And that document platform over the past 5 years or more has really evolved quite substantially now. So we have over 800 users on our platform accessing our SMSF specialist documents via the various platforms, like I said, both with Simple Fund 360, but then also on our own site. So we are based in Melbourne. So yes, over 200 days of lockdown, but we have a very broad spectrum of clients, both as accountants and advisors, lawyers, auditors, and the like. And we support right across Australia. We have very strong presence, for example, in Perth. Those of you that may be listening in from Perth, whilst we haven't been able to get there, but we quite regularly obviously engage with people there and as I said, all across Australia. Now, the first thing to remember, I guess, is where, and you'll be talking to other and listening to these sessions with other providers, we are not a legal firm. So we are a document provider business if we look at exclusively the documents, in addition to those other services. But what I will say is that the business is not only owned by myself, but are owned by others who are practicing solicitors. So the context of what we do is that we own all the IP of our business. So our documents are created, are managed, and are updated internally by our team at Smarter SMSF. So if you require information or change or technical support around particular documents, particular issues, it is the culmination of our team that puts it together to be able to support you and your business. So we now have over 70 documents available from within the Smarter SMSF platform. So you can order those at any time. As I said, right now, we have over 30 of those 70 currently available within the Simple Fund 360 platform, and we continue to grow that amount. And a lot of the way in which we do that is we align those releases with the BGL sprints that you'll see with the Simple Fund 360 team. So if you saw the release notes out of Simple Fund 360 in the past week or so, you will have seen that we included information in as part of those release notes the fact that we had also updated and released new documentation in respect to investment strategy reviews. So, and I'll touch a little bit more about that shortly. And in terms of, therefore, if you are looking at documents and you are looking at training, we have two models that are available within our business. Either one, you can look at a subscription in terms of providing you with an ongoing monthly fee or annual fee for access to documents and or training, or you can simply access that on a pay-as-you-go basis. And there are quite clearly some differences in the pricing set around those things. And finally, as Daniel mentioned, because we are a document and education business, another key element to what we do is through the delivery of ongoing training. And part of that training that we do is that we have now created an SMSF course, which, as Daniel rightly mentioned, is also available directly through the BGL Learning Channel. And I'll share a little bit more about that, even though it's not a key focus of today. I'll share a little bit more about how you can do that. So we are at one of only half a dozen accredited educators in this SMSF space, accredited by the SMSF Association. So we are recognised as one of the very few at the top of our game in this space. And I include that here as an educator, not only because of that technical competency there, but you can then will begin to see how that translates into the documentation and the other stuff that we put together as well. So who are the types of firms that we then work with? And first and foremost, because of our level of specialization and really brand awareness that we have in the industry, people put a great level of reliance upon our award-winning technical expertise in this space. So the fact that they have the support to be able to come back to us, be able to ask questions, be able to track through ideas and strategies, and then be able to know that they can put in place with confidence the documents that they need. So what we see is we see a broad spectrum quite clearly of clients, but we can distill them into two buckets. So the first is we have high volume users. So these are administration firms and specialist firms, and they have two clear expectations that are put upon us. So one is that what we do has to be industry best practice. And on the basis that and you can vet documents and see that they are and provide input into those documents, but they need to be of absolute best standard, and they know that they need to stack up under a court of law. The second thing is once you have best practice documents in place, as a high volume user, you need an efficient and consistent experience each and every time. And that's where things like the integration become absolutely critical, because it is all about time and saving money, because it becomes far more competitive and therefore needs high levels of efficiency in terms of delivery. Then we have the other set of what I would call the general practitioner, and that is putting less onus on efficiency and consistency, but just really asking the questions, I just need help. Am I doing this right? Is this the document that I need? How do I actually work through this scenario? And if I have that confidence, well then yes, absolutely. How can I do something more efficiently as a result of that? And again, that integration comes into play. So we put a lot of emphasis on the support that comes with being a service provider in this space. So whilst we are an automated document business, as an example, we put a whole lot of importance on having access through telephone support and also ticketing support. So we see tickets as probably the primary way to do things, and most importantly because you get visibility around being able to log those tickets, but then track those tickets. And the data, once I started to have a look through this, is you can see that 73% of the tickets that come in, we can resolve those typically within the same business day, so less than 4 hours. And then we see 64% of those resolved on the first reply. So it may be a question that's needed, it may be that a document is required. And so you've got access to all that information there through the personalised support. And again, you'll have the visibility that comes with that as well.
Aaron, just a real quick question from Paul Williams. Is there legal assistance with docs included in the cost of a subscription, PAYG or additional? So what services do you wrap around that? Yeah, so from a legal, I guess the context of the legal support will be based upon whether there's something that needs to be undertaken. So initially, if there is some particular legal support that may be required, and it may be the fact that you're not sure prior to a particular document being ordered, whether it may present any issues or not, that sort of thing is naturally not going to incur any additional cost and forms part of the subscription. However, if as part of that process we identify that there's a break in the sequence of ordering, say with deed upgrades or changes of trustee, then quite clearly that then is going to, we would outline the user or the member that there is a problem, and then we would pass on that information obviously to the lawyers to come back to us with some sort of pricing guide and time frame to obviously deal with that. So the short answer is it depends on the issue at hand that would determine whether there'd be any other fees and charges in respect to that from a legal document perspective. So like I said, there is a strong focus here on automation to create the document. So we know that because it is all about how can we best use the integrations that we have to save you time and then ultimately money. So legal support
is done through Chris Hill at Hill Legal, his team at Hill Legal, who is also an SMSF specialist advisor like myself, and business partner Ian Glenister. So just as the question was then from Paul, if there is a deed update deficiency that would require rectification, we would work through that with you and then come up with the solution and help cost that accordingly. In terms of data security and where everything is hosted. So we, like BGL does, we use Amazon Web Services to host the platform and also host the data documents. When you order those, we use Amazon's S3 services. So the documents where they are stored online using our platform, they are stored in Sydney. They are not stored on platforms overseas. If you are ordering documents and you're doing this on a pay-as-you-go basis, or even if you do via subscription, we do accept all different payment methods in terms of, like I said, the order or subscription. So Visa, MasterCard, and American Express. All of our sites also have SSL certificates to ensure that you have secure payments when they are processed. For those of you that are ordering, you will then also get a confirmation by email, and the document will be available under your user profile under the completed orders section. And I'll show you all that functionality when we go into the site. And we also have functionality around you being able to save orders and then go and resume those. And we also have reset functionality in some instances for members, where you may need to reset a document if you found an error or something that may need to happen. You'll also see as we work through these documents, we have tooltips. So some of the documents that we produce, given the specialist nature of the type of work that we do have questions in there that may be a little bit more specific, obviously, to SMSF that just needs some further clarification from you to be able to answer that. So we do a couple of things there. One is we provide tooltips, and the tooltips may include references out to legislation, to tax rulings, something on the ATO site, even to our sample documents. Also, as part of this process, we have a comprehensive knowledge base that provides access to you to view our sample documents. When we release documents, we will also release how-to videos. So those videos will then go through a lot of those questions that may need your specialist understanding to be able to complete, how to set up integrations, and much, much more. So this is, to me, the real, I guess, one of the most important slides to understand, to explain the difference between what I call breadth and depth of the service providers. So there are quite clearly a high number of service providers in this industry that have a much broader set of documentation. So we don't sit in the space of unit trusts, discretionary trusts. We know where our strength is, employment law and the like. So as I said, we are not a legal firm, but it's the depth of knowledge that then helps to set us apart from other providers. So when we look at documents from other providers generically, we see these 4 different levels in the marketplace at large. So there's what I call level 1. So the breadth of document providers, really what they are doing is providing you documents that will, tick a box, replicate what SIS and tax is really saying. And then from a basic concept point of view, so maybe going that little bit further, maybe getting you to start considering a couple of other, current issues. But it's only once you get to that strategic thinking that you can start to peel a few layers off, do you start to see the documentation looking somewhat different. And that is really where a lot of specialist providers will naturally play. But what we really focus on here is what we call extended thinking, or level 4 thinking. And this is not only providing strategic documents here, but also ensuring that there may be other documents that will sit around it to ring fence some of these documents that you may be ordering yourself. So if we look at the SMSF trust deed, we introduce concepts into the deed such as special rules. So you can annex other documents to become part of the governing rules of the fund. We have the integrations quite clearly. We have concepts around a paramount document that enables you to say, I want a binding death benefit nomination to out-trump a reversionary, or vice versa, or I want an SMSF will to out-trump this. So you have the opportunity to dictate how you can rank particular documents through that concept of a paramount document. We are also looking at this stage, or we're building, I should say at this stage, the ability to determine or influence key decisions and what those key decisions are, in particular off the back of the increase from 4 to 6 members. If we look at death benefit nominations, quite clearly we've seen standard nominations, then moving into binding and non-lapsing. We might be looking at cascading nominations, but we're looking at things such as, well, what role could a fund guardian play in here to be able to ensure that the wishes of that individual under death or incapacity are actually followed through? And again, whether some form of replacement trustee needs to exist or not. So I won't go through each of these, but you can see there, because the investment strategy is one that I'll show you in the document set in just a little while. Because interestingly, we had nearly 27% of all of our orders in the last 12 months were in respect to investment strategy. And it was quite significantly out of the BGL orders, again, a significant area of focus for individuals. And again, this is something that we have spent a lot of time on, that looks at not only what the regs say here, but how do we make sure that we can demonstrate for audit purposes the asset concentration requirements, or how do we ensure that you, whether you're licensed or not licensed, can actually produce an investment strategy document without tripping over the regulations in terms of what you can and can't say to a client. So understanding, I guess, where our positioning is and how that compares to others is something of real importance. So the opportunity, I guess, in a subscription or pay-as-you-go basis. So if you want to, there's nothing that prevents you from simply ordering on a pay-as-you-go basis. And as a BGL user, you can thank Ron, he's fantastic in terms of his negotiation skills. But what happens is you as a BGL user are tagged in our system and you get a discount to what our standard pricing is. Now, it varies on the document that you order, but some of the discounts are up to 50% discount on what our standard price is for particular documents. Now, on a pay-as-you-go basis, you still get access to the integration to be able to utilize your 360 data to actually order your documents. When you go through that ordering process, as I said before, with credit card, you are required to then put in that credit card prior to submission of payment. Once you have ordered and that order has been completed, you'll receive a series of emails. The emails will include the completed document order, but you will also automatically receive a tax invoice after that order has been submitted as well. So our subscription packages start from 25 documents. And they are available for you to use over a 12-month period. Okay, so the subscription provides you with access to all documents and in essence puts a flat fee over the top of those. And the only time I guess you need to dip back into the pocket again is where you have either ASIC or admin fees for company and corporations that are over and above the subscription. So you would then also get automatic renewals, in particular for annual subs. And you have the ability naturally to change anything in your user profile or about your subscription at any time. So upgrading, downgrading, changes of credit cards and that sort of stuff.
Aaron, just a quick question here. And
yep.
It was again from Paul Williams around the printing, right? Some people like to get their deeds and stuff sent to them on, via email. Some like to have it printed and sent out to them. What options do you have available, like especially with the deed upgrade and those larger documents?
Yep. Yeah, so typically we have only done it in an electronic form. So, and that's predominantly just because of where our price points sit. We have naturally just felt that there's in particular with things like electronic signing coming on board and so forth, we really haven't played in in that print and bind space. So I know we do get that question on occasion, but we just at this stage haven't seen any great need to step down that path.
And really, Aaron, I mean, one of the things that I think that would be good to dispel too is there a need to have a physical printed copy of stuff?
No, there's not. No, there's not. And if we look at only in the past 2 weeks, we've seen legislation back into Parliament and ultimately getting passed to provide continuation of the temporary measures on the electronic signing of documents. And the government is moving towards making those measures permanent from Section 127A of the Corporations Act in terms of companies being able to sign documents electronically. But we then do have at a state-based level legislation that allows for it to occur anyway. So in a lot of instances, we are finding people will produce the documents electronically. You'll find a small cohort of clients will want a paper copy. So it's not a great imposition on the member or user to then look at printing that, and then you may charge that fee on to the client if need be. But by and large, we're finding more and more people are using just an electronic means to obviously just generate these. So like I said, we tend to be moving further and further away from that. We do get the occasional question on it, but we haven't seen a compelling argument to have to move to that without obviously having an impact on what the potential cost might be.
Agree, and getting them signed digitally is perfectly okay for the people that are listening.
Yeah, and we've got integrations in part of the completed orders that you can send the document up to Simple Fund 360, so that you're then sending the message out of there to get them to sign it electronically using DocuSign, FuseSign, and whatever the case may be.
Thank you, Aaron.
So, pleasure. All right, so I wanted to show this, I guess, to you now, so I wasn't going backwards and forwards in terms of the subscriptions and the like. So you can see here, and the live demo. So you can see here, we've got our different price points based upon the number of documents as well. But what you'll see on the bottom is I just wanted to give you a bit of a broad brush understanding of what, the number of funds and then when that might be relevant to you. So, so we have a pack that starts at $150 a month, gives you the 25 documents over the year. Now that would typically suit someone maybe up to 20, 25 funds, all the way through to what is our Smartest 500, which quite clearly is really an unlimited subscription that allows them to be able to do so, order the number of documents that would suit them. So when you're ordering, quite clearly you've got a new fund, so you might be looking at company and fund and maybe an investment strategy, death benefit nominations and the like. So they will start to amount up in terms of the types of documents that you're doing. We do have a document calculator on our site that you can also look at and help understand the number of documents that you might do. So our sales manager, David, does work with people quite regularly, taking them through a lot of the questions and so forth as well. So if you do have any questions about any of those, again, you can go and get in contact with us and or go to our document calculator, which I'll show you shortly. And if anyone does subscribe, you can see there we've got just a little bonus in terms of throwing on what is our CPD training packages to go with it as well.
I'm sure you're delighted to see me again, Aaron.
Yeah, no worries.
I've got a question from Deb Pink, and I think this is a really important one, and I'd love your insights on this. I'm having a lot of problem with the banks not accepting electronic copies, are insisting on certified copies, and most certifying will not do so on an electronic copy. What's your take on that?
Yeah, so this is, you're looking at a policy issue, I guess, first and foremost. So the banks, have got fairly comprehensive either legal departments themselves or paying, big tier legal firms to track this stuff. So these things will change over time quite clearly because you've got legislative changes on their way as well. But the reality is, if we do have electronic forms, there is going to need to be some level of certification that it is of the original as cited in any event. So yes, there will be some problems along the way. It's not because of legislation, it's because of policy that will sit inside those particular financial institutions.
And just a question around the investment strategy from Tracy Best. He's basically said, is it possible with the investment strategy to tick applicable options, i.e. insurance cover or type on the PDF document, or can it only be printed off and filled in that way?
Yeah, so we'll come to investment strategy a little bit later because it is one of the most common questions we get about, how often, how how far can we go without kind of stepping over the line? And that was a very deliberate thing in our approach in building the way in which we build our document templates, in particular around our investment strategy and investment strategy review, because we need to make sure that we adequately consider all of the requirements of SIS Reg 409. But if we are not licensed, then we obviously cannot influence or cannot make any recommendation in respect to some of those particular areas. So I'll come to that template shortly and show you. So again, just the combination of why someone may or may not do a subscription, I just want to show you how this analysis works in our mind. So if you've got Jackie expects here to order 10 investment strategies and 10 deed upgrades during the year, that's the expectation. So on a pay-as-you-go basis, this is going to equate to about $2,640 using the BGL pricing here. However, if Jackie purchases what is our Create 25 or Starter 25 pack with BGL, you're looking at either $150 a month or $1,500 plus GST over the year. So the average cost of the document now is $72 a document. That naturally is providing a significant saving. So it's not just going, are we going to produce 25 documents for the year, but actually working out where the break even is. Because in this instance, if we look at deed upgrades, the deed upgrades themselves, if we get those done, that is where the break even actually occurs. So therefore you get the benefit on top of with those additional 15 documents that would be available to use. Even if you don't use them, you would then be no worse off. So there's the link to the document calculator. It'll come to you to click through when you get these slides after today's session. But it's not just as simple as saying, am I going to order 25 documents or not during this year? Am I going to order 50? Am I going to order 100? You really need to go down and understand how many orders you might be doing, but what that would look at on a cost or on a pay-as-you-go cost basis. So let's get stuck into this. And what I want to do first is jump onto the Smarter SMSF platform and show you our site here. And then I'm going to advance, I guess, this into the BGL integration that we have. So you can see here we've landed on our documents page. We have our training that is accessible in here in addition to our documents. So this is our list of documents that obviously are most extensive on the SMSF perspective, but you can go through any of these and it will include information within it as to what is included. So for example, here, this now includes up to 6 members that was allowed from the 1st of July, 2021. It'll include our deed, PDS, minutes, member applications, trustee and member registers, ATO declarations. And then you can see there you have access to view the sample document, or it can take you across to our main site that has information on it about the establishment form. So taking you back to this site, and you'll be able to see some of the relevant sections that talk through an SMSF establishment, for example, and you can see a little bit more about that. So the other thing to note here, as I said about our sample documents, is within our knowledge base. This is where we have all of our sample documents for you to be able to see, along with a whole range of questions about videos and the like. So if we go to fund establishment, for example, you'll then see the ability to click on that, and then you have access to be able to check out what is our most recent deed, and the changes that have potentially occurred within that deed form part of a change log. So you can go through and read that as much as you want. We do have change logs. So that change log here not only provides updates to previous changes that we've made and updates on our platform, but it also includes change logs to the deed and all the course and so forth that we have done. So from the 1st of July, we have made changes in the deed because of removals to eligible rollover funds that you can see there in the references. We've now updated to include changes for SuperStream, to include rollovers. We've updated changes around authorised contributions to deal with COVID-19 recontributions. And also there was one other one, I can't remember off the top of my head, in inclusions of the best financial interest duty that now exists, as opposed to the best interest duty, and the fact that we had a change to the covenant within section 52B, and then a few other changes that you can see on there as well. So we are tracking here for you the history of what changes inside the deed so that you can at least understand why changes have occurred and then whether it may or may not be relevant to your client. So we didn't need to change our deed to reflect from 4 to 6 members. Our deed was drafted sufficiently enough to allow for that to continue. However, there will be changes that will be required on an ongoing basis. For example, if we have a scenario where the legacy pension conversions need to happen, yes, and you've got a client like that, then you would need to specifically update the deed to allow for that legacy pension to occur. But you have access in here to be able to look at different videos, look at sample documents, and in a lot of instances, we are also doing videos. So those videos here then explain me basically doing a screenshot and explaining to you a lot of the questions and stuff in the form so that it helps you to understand and correctly answer those as well. So again, just a little bit of insight as to how our platform, our knowledge base works and what you can access and how you can see all that information. So in here, again, you can search for a particular document. You can see in here for an investment strategy, we've got our reports, we've got new documents that we've just added around single asset concentration, and then also an asset review statement. So you can ignore these prices because you are a BGL client. I'll come back to that shortly. So in here, you can create, you can save, and you have your completed orders page. You'll see all of these are consistent within not only our platform, but then also in the integration, like I said, that we've done with BGL. So you can resume orders that you may have started in here. From the completed orders page, you have the ability to obviously do a number of actions off the back of the completed order as well. So once this comes up, it's the joys of maybe kids doing homeschooling and on the PCs at the same time. But you can see in here, you then have different actions that you can do. So you can send the document automatically up to Simple Fund 360 from here, and then the client will then, you can then share that or get the client to DocuSign from that point. You have the ability to simply download a particular document, and then as you can see here, it is stored on Amazon. Southeast means it's from Sydney. So let's go in, and I want to show you the integration itself. So in here, we have our connection to Simple Fund 360 and also CAS 360. So this is where we started with the integration work that we did with BGL. So if you have a subscription or you want to order a document and it is not currently available, you can, through your subscription, and you can, through PAYG, order the document through here and pay the BGL price. So you can see in here, what it's doing is connecting the your software into our site here to then allow you to generate a particular document. So we can see here the deed update, and then what it allows us to do is it allows us to simply look from that menu of clients and choose the fund. So we will select our fund. We can then choose what rule or clause it may be. If it's Smarter SMSF, it will be Rule 29, so I know that off the top of my head. And then it will go through and import the data for you to then go and submit, review, and then submit that document. So the information that it will know, we're using the endpoints from BGL to quite clearly populate as much of the information that we know in respect to this client. So a good example of what is not populating is whether this deed is being upgraded for QROPS purposes. So a UK pension scheme that is being transferred across. Why is that important? It's important because there are rules in respect to the membership, an age required for membership, where we have a QROP fund. So in this instance, we will go no, and then we're looking at the history of any amendments if they have or haven't been. That information doesn't come through from Simple Fund at this point in time. I've put a couple of requests into Jeevan and the team to be able to do that. But again, you just need to put in some of that history to then quite clearly go through and complete the remainder of this form. So in here, you've got all the detail, whatever that information is. You'll see at the bottom here, we use an integration that allows for you to search addresses. So it's not just a straight Google one. This is allowing you to look at suite numbers, levels, all that sort of thing. So if I just choose an address, we've got our directors, and we have here our address again. So that allows you to, just going to get rid of that there, but again, that allows you to confirm all the information there, hit next, and then quite clearly you're just reviewing the final bits here. Oops, sorry, I didn't put in a reference. ABC 1, 2, 3. And then you have a review screen to review the information that you are about to submit. So if we've got our members, we've got our addresses, all that sort of stuff, hit next. And then, as I said, the deed update requires a review by not only the trustees, but also the members, hence why you have that information. So this page here, you will also get an email confirmation of the information that you are submitting. Okay, so if something doesn't turn out right, you have a reference point to come back to with this. Now, what you can see here for me, as in this instance admin, but this applies with members as well, is that it basically cancels out the price and there is no credit card showing here for the order. So if you are ordering on a pay-as-you-go basis, you're required to insert credit card information here and submit. You can store your card and therefore apply it if you wish. You can also choose to send it to someone else if you wish as well. I'm simply just going to hit place order. And what that will do is, for someone that has a subscription, it will then count or add that order to the counter of what you have as part of your subscription. So if someone has a Create 100, in this instance, if that's the first order you've done, you will then see on the platform that you now have 99 left available as part of your subscription going forward. So once that has been created, it will then defer you across to the completed orders page, and the submission will happen here, as you can currently see, and you can see that it is currently processing. Now, that may take 2, 3, 4, 5, up to 10 minutes, depending on the type of document that is being ordered and the combinations that we need to have through it. You will, once that has been done, you will receive an email, and I'm going to just go across here to show you what it looks like, just to save time. But you get your documents ready. You can see I've just got a couple of other emails that have come through right now, the details of your order, and to say thank you, it is on its way. So once that order's been done, you will get your order confirmation number, and you have the ability to download that document straight from the particular link there. And then you have your order information there that you can obviously access and utilize. So that is the process that you will see across all of the different documents and all the different orders. So that was where we started, okay? Now, what has evolved since then over the past 18 months or so is that or maybe more, a couple of years now, is that we have moved to, and I'm just going to go back to the slides, is we have moved to now embedding this integration in essence as part of the Simple Fund 360 process. So I've done this as a video just because as admin, you will see this for the first time that you go to order documents. So you have the ability to either A, select a subscription, or B, just simply start now, connect between Smarter SMSF and your BGL Simple Fund 360 subscription, and you can then simply order on a pay-as-you-go basis. So what this will do is you have the ability to, from the order documents page, connect and order documents. You then can choose to, or you'll land on this page and you can choose to either start now or subscribe. So by starting now, all it is going to do is then set up the integration between your software package and Smarter SMSF. So if I just move on to this next page before we go back in and show you, what it is doing is it's passing to us the username, so your name and your email address, from BGL to us upon that you clicking that register now. What we will do on our end as part of that process is we need to include a double opt-in process. So we are going to send you an email to say, hey, John, Jill, whoever it is, thanks for connecting, but we need you to confirm your information. to us, because that ensures that we can properly deliver to you things like tax invoices, other information, general updates and the like. Now, because we get only a small bit of information that passes from BGL to us, we then will also send, in a reasonably short period of time, what we call a data collection form. You don't need to fill this out. We'd love you to fill it out. But importantly, if you only have Jane and it says jane@abcaccountants.com, if you order something on a pay-as-you-go basis, then that is how you are going to get the information sent to you on a tax invoice, which may therefore not comply with what your firm or whatever needs to include, because the tax invoices automatically generate. So we've got dedicated, so David, who's our sales and development manager, is really, I guess, our dedicated support there as part of that first part of the journey to make sure that you are all ready to go. So we are checking that double opt-in process. We are checking to make sure that information is there. You may get a call from David. You can ring us and have a discussion and make sure it goes through. Now, from a subscription point of view, one of the things that we are continuing to build, but we do have it ready in essence in beta form at the moment, is this concept of primary and secondary users. So what I mean by this is that you may be the business owner and you may have the direct subscription with BGL for your Simple Fund 360, but you have multiple staff, and I'll call them secondary users, that log in with their own profile to be able to do the processing and completion of the work using the software. So what we have here and on our own platform was originally built on a single user basis. What this provides us is the ability for you to link secondary users to your subscription so that users that log in through BGL can use their own profiles to naturally audit documents as much as use the software themselves. So we are then tracking the orders using our counter. And so we use the BGL short firm code to do this. And it's going to then ensure that anyone within that firm who obviously linked that short firm code can use that subscription. Now, at this moment in time, it requires us to manually get that connected for you. We are building out our primary user profile page at the moment. And what that's going to let that primary individual do is to go, okay, I'm going to add Toby, I'm going to add Jill, I'm going to add Ken, add all those individuals and set the permissions for them. So they can submit, they can see all the orders, they can only see their orders, et cetera, et cetera. So we are pretty close. I was hoping to show you a couple of screenshots today. We've just fallen short, but I suspect we'll have all that ready come RegTech to be able to show you. So let's go back and I'm going to talk through that once we come back into it. But this is where we have now evolved to. So I'm now in Simple Fund 360 and you can see here under Connect, we have an Order Documents button. So if I connect, then what this does is obviously take me to our feeds management page here, but we then also have order documents here. This is, and we are the only provider that you can do this from within Simple Fund 360. So again, what we're doing here is we're connecting your Simple Fund 360 software into Smarter SMSF. And you'll see here a screen that looked very similar to our own platform. And what this is the direct integration that we have for you to order documents. Okay, so you'll land on the dashboard. You can see here the detail of the subscription I was talking about before, what my package is, how many I've ordered, how many I've got left. So similarly to our own platform, this gives you the ability to directly go in and order from the document suite that we have in here. So you can see in here, we're sort of looking at the type of orders you've done, what those recent orders are. You've got support, so you can go to the knowledge base, you can look at the tickets, you can update profile information. You have the ability to order documents from here, create, saved, and completed, which I'll come to. And if you want to go through to the Foundations course, you can do that directly from here as well. So if I go to our Create New, then we have the ability, just as I did before, to now order these documents directly through here. And these price points are different to what you saw in here. So I'm just going to go across here. So if we have a look at ordering your document, we look at company or we look at establishment. is $132, where on our own site, you are looking at an SMSF establishment at $220. But if you are looking at subscription, you'd be paying as low as at a highest point, $72 and potentially even lower. So the idea here is that you can then simply go and order now, and you'll see the fund list. So that's the first thing that appears in here, that you can now actually within this fund list, go and find your client and away you go. So what that is doing is it's importing all of that information in and allowing you to do exactly what I did before, but in a far more succinct way, using your Simple Fund 360 data straight from within that process, like I said, that we started inside Simple Fund 360. And again, we go down the process. We've got our tooltips. We've got all the information that will populate in this order that we did as part of that previous process. And again, once we work through that order, it goes through an identical process, to ensure that you get your completed order, confirmation of the order, et cetera, et cetera. So that's our deed upgrade. And then again, I wanted to go through and show you the investment strategy here that explains, I guess, some of the other changes. So this is something that we've literally just added, like I said, in the last release. So here, I might just again use Smith as our example. What we have here is our investment strategy. And what this does is it produces an investment strategy template. So, and we do this quite deliberately because of the line, I guess, where you can have discussions with your clients without tripping over what you are and aren't allowed to say. So you can see here again, we're populating a lot of the base information here about those individuals. I might just better put that in there, and they are a fund member. And what you can do from this is it will then ask you some specific questions. What am I missing? Reference. What it is asking you is some specific information to be able to produce this document. So it will look at the value of assets. It will look at the date of an initial report. So you can go back and reference the initial report as part of the review. It will look at the phase of that. It will look at the rationale as to why that review is taking place. It will look at the way in which you want to produce that document, because the ATO discusses whether you want to show asset allocation by percentage, by dollar amount, or you may even want to list specific assets subject to how the asset breakdown of that fund is. And then if you do have heavy asset concentration, you can produce additional documentation for audit purposes based upon the different area that heavy asset concentration exists. And again, we've got the different tooltips in here that explain some of the relevance as to when you may or may not include that information. So we spend a lot of time looking into what are the key issues around ensuring that you get this documentation put in place and that it will stack up. Again, when it goes into audit, it goes into, I guess, being tested in any way, shape or form. So again, you've got that same process and functionality in here to be able to save orders as you go along, resume particular orders once that they have started, and then it'll allow you to obviously carry on and complete that particular order. You will get an email confirmation of that as well. So again, going through and you can see all that information has been populated to be able to complete that. And then from the completed orders page, you then have the ability to obviously download those documents, see where they're being processed, download. And from these with some of the particular documents, you can then again send those back up into Simple Fund 360. So from the viewpoint of the integration functionality here, what I wanted to do is just share with you some of the things that we have used integration to not only pull down, but then also push back up. So if you do a new super fund order, for example, once you have established that fund and upon the completion of that order, what it will then also do is establish that fund for you. So we are posting information back into Simple Fund 360, provide the fund name, the code, the establishment date, the deed provider and the date. the fund, the trustee, and the member details. So all of that information plus the completed order document up into the document area. So it gives you 90% of the fund being established to get you going again. With a special purpose company and corporation that we have through this process, again, we have the ability for you to push that information across to CADS 360 that will set up, obviously, the trustee company, the director, the shareholders, and we can send the constitution across as well. We have a number of people who may do the registration process within CADS 360. We are working with Warren and the team there at the moment to be able to use the constitution directly through there, and that constitution will pass back to CADS 360 through that process. But all of our other documents predominantly use what we call the get data function. So it is drawing that data out of Simple Fund 360, filling the order forms to be able to do it, allowing you to then fill out the gaps and then naturally submit that information to generate the order. Now, we can